Motivation. It's that feeling that can sometimes take us from our lowest lows right up to our highest highs. But is motivation actually good? For starters, what actually is motivation?
18! You me, son!
Motivation is defined as a reason or reasons for acting or behaving in a particular way. Some examples of this could include a guy that just got heartbroken, so he starts going to the gym and working out, a woman going on a diet leading up to her wedding day so she can fit perfectly into her wedding dress, or a League of Legends player refusing to shower all because they are so close to reaching that elusive challenger icon. Motivation is the driving force that prompts us to take action, pursue goals, and fulfill desires. It's what gives us the energy and direction to accomplish tasks, overcome obstacles, and achieve greatness. And the best part is, it comes in a whole wide array of forms, shapes, and sizes. This single image of Itadori is crazy motivation to me. And just by looking at this image of Itadori face tanking all these cuts from Sukuna, I feel a sense of immense motivation, one in which I can push through anything that comes my way. Or when working on this video, for example, I get motivated to make it as best as I can in hopes that it will reach thousands and potentially millions of people. And even though these are both forms of motivation, they are actually two different types of motivation. Intrinsic motivation is that which is driven by internal desires. This photo of Itadori gives me intrinsic motivation as it fills me with the internal desire to overcome any and every obstacle in my path. Extrinsic motivation is that which is driven by external rewards or outcomes. My motivation to work on this video is extrinsically motivated as my mind looks towards a future where hundreds of thousands of people have seen this video and learnt a thing or two, which in turn brings me closer to my YouTube goals. And that's not to say there can't ever be any overlap between intrinsic and extrinsic motivation, because as anyone who has spent hours writing and editing videos before would tell you, you can only do this if you really enjoy it. I love making videos, especially ones where I feel I've been able to leave somewhat of an impact on the viewers. But as I'm also truly hoping to make a career out of this, there are some external outcomes which I'm striving for, but also can't personally guarantee. Oh, and I forgot to mention that there's actually one more type of motivation, and that's the 3 AM motivation. That's when you're in your room at 3 AM brain rotting or playing a bit of Fort, and then suddenly you get hit with the resolve to achieve financial freedom for you and your family. So then you start doing push-ups for 5 minutes. This motivation is actually the strongest of the three, but unfortunately disappears entirely upon going to sleep. Yeah, they had to nerf that one. And the best part about motivation that many people seem to be unaware of is that you don't have to wait for it. You can literally create it. Whenever I finish recording a script and I'm left there staring at the Premiere Pro timeline, knowing that I now have to actually put the entire video together, starting from the very first second, believe me when I say that in that moment, I am not motivated. But once I start tackling it, really getting into it, and now suddenly the vision starts coming together, that's when I'm really becoming motivated to work on the video. So please understand that so long as you start taking action, the motivation will follow. Now, the thing that you need to understand about motivation is that while it is not an emotion in itself, it is a goal-driven behavior that is strongly directed by emotions. And you see, the issue with that is emotions are fleeting. You probably couldn't even tell me what emotions you were feeling a week ago, let alone a month ago. Even today, you've probably felt a whole bunch of emotions, and it's not even lunchtime yet. Emotions come and go, and while we love them for that, because none of us want to be stuck with the big sad forever, that also makes them unreliable. And having them be what directs our motivation, unfortunately, as a result, makes motivation itself unreliable. And this is where I want to introduce to you guys what I like to view as the father of motivation: discipline. Where motivation is like a child, blissfully ignorant to the world and their surroundings, yet having the highest of ambitions like, I want to be an astronaut, or I want to play for Manchester United. It's motivation's old man, discipline, that's been through life and experienced it with his own hands, who knows just how rough the road there will be. Not that it's impossible, but that motivation is going to have to grow and develop themselves into becoming disciplined if they want to see those dreams through. Where motivation is like a battery that can only last for so long before it runs out of charge, self-discipline is like a well-oiled machine that doesn't know how to stop moving. It only knows how to perform. Discipline is what allows us to get up every morning and do the things which we may not want to do at that very moment, but we know will benefit us in the future. As humans, we have the tendency to want things now, or not want to do things that are rather difficult and instead opt for something that's both easy and make the brain feel good. A discipline allows us to look past that short-term gratification and instead favor the interests of our long-term goals. I love going to the gym. It's most definitely a hobby for me and something I enjoy doing. But as anyone that goes to the gym regularly will tell you, you definitely have your days where where your energy levels just aren't there and it's hard to get yourself into the gym. And that's where you can no longer rely on motivation and instead have to enact on your discipline. Even if at that point in time, going to the gym is the last thing I want to do, I know that by going and still getting that workout in, it will make future Steve happy. And we like the future Steve being happy. Even now while writing this script, I'm eating my plain watery oats because I'm cutting weight right now. This is purely discipline. This is something I know which I'm going to have to adhere and stick to day after day for the next coming months if I want to achieve my desired result. But this isn't my first time cutting, and I didn't just magically spawn in this disciplined. My first ever time cutting, I was filled with motivation. I wanted to see my body look a certain type of way in which I didn't even know if it was capable of looking. I remember thinking I'm just genetically unlucky and being the one human in the world that doesn't have abdominal muscles. So I was motivated to try, push through my comfort zone of both exercise and diet, and after keeping that up for a matter of months, I one day looked in the bathroom mirror and I had abs. For the very first time in my life, I could see my abs. And all those days of diet and nights of cardio suddenly seemed so worth it. But now ever since completing that first cut, it's no longer motivation that pushes me through subsequent cutting phases. Now knowing what it takes to get there, having been through it before, it's all discipline that drives me forward. So how do we instill some discipline? Well, during that period of motivation you have, it's honestly like being on trend in a self-improvement sense. So take advantage of that. You're going to be motivated to wake up early, to go for a morning jog, to read 20 pages of a book, to eat healthy foods. The thing is, once your motivation runs dry, there's a good chance that these systems you've built will also come crumbling down. So that's why it's crucial that on that first day where you want to skip that morning jog or you don't feel like reading pages of a book, that you do it. It's that first day that you want to skip that matters the most. Because if you skip that first day, then you'll never get back on track. So push through that first day of discipline and then do it again and again and again. And soon, it will just become a series of recurring habits, a system which you've personally designed and which works for you. No longer will you be relying on that unstable battery that is motivation, and instead you'll be constantly performing like the well-oiled machine you now are. Now don't get me wrong, I love when some of that sweet motivation kicks in. That sensation you get in that moment where you go from feeling it's so over to the absolute, oh, we are so back. I'm not even joking. At this point, I swear I seek out adversity and cop ills just so I can get that feeling again and again. I'm serious, inject that feeling into my veins. Because if that's what vent feels like, then I'm gonna be honest, I kinda get it. And of course it's good to be motivated to do something, but having the discipline to do something anyway, irregardless of whether you feel motivated to do it or not, that is where you'll see the real results come in. So to answer the question, is motivation even good? Well, yeah, of course it is. But it's also unlasting as it's directed by our emotions, which as we know, are in constant change. Which is why it's important that while you've got this surge of motivation to set up good habits and systems that you can commit to on a day-to-day basis. Because once the motivation wears off, it's those systems and habits you build which you will be left with. And how far you'll go, the level to which you will climb, will all be determined by just how strong those systems you yourself built and how disciplined you can be to stick with them. Remember, it's not about proving anything to anyone else. It's about proving these things to yourself. You got this.